Hello and welcome to episode 170 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is November 13th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So over a year ago, we had a very special session with Mathias Klein from SAP and Taka Hoshino from Microsoft on the new database migration option, DMO, for Azure. At that time, we presented a white paper that outlined the steps to simplify the conversion and make DMO to Azure actually happen. We also briefly talked about potential next steps and how all the prerequisite checks and a lot of more things could be included in an almost automated process. Well, today I'm super happy to have Mathias back on our channel to provide us with the latest news on DMO to Azure. Before we hand over to him, as always, let's quickly take a look at some of the news from this week. And Goran, we have a few infrastructure-related topics again.
Yeah. Small one, but still valuable. About Azure NetApp File, GA offers support for 2 terabyte capacity pool. What does that mean concretely? Till now we had a 4, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is, Azure NetApp is used for database, but also not for database, but also for in high availability scenarios for shared files for SAP. It is very performant, but also expensive. So if the customer would use Azure NetApp just for the shared file, they generally need a lower, smaller capacity. And with this step, basically, we are reducing the price, which is a great thing with all the standard feature which they would need. Of course, there is always a question, okay, can I even get a bit less? So that would be on the next announcement of the public preview of support for 1 terabyte. Same story, but just now it's a public preview. Yeah.
So that's really cool. So for 2 terabyte, we have GA, general availability.
Yes.
And for 1 terabyte, we have public preview.
So it will come GA as well, meaning it's definitely customer will save the money here, which is a great thing, as always, right? With all the features. Yeah.
Goran, I already see we need to invite Geert or Ralph back on the show to give an update on Azure NetApp Files again.
Definitely, yeah. I'm thinking of this, yeah.
Perfect, something for next year. Good, so that was a quick or very quick update, not AI related. I think that's also a new thing for looking back at the last few episodes where we had a lot of AI related things. So with this actually, maybe, of course, I hope that most of our viewers and listeners saw or listened to the previous episode with you, Mathias. But for the ones that have not yet, oh, by the way, I mean, we just reached 6,000 subscribers. So there are definitely more subscribers now to the channel than last time. So maybe there are a few of them who don't know you yet. So let's start by introducing yourself. Mathias, what do you do at SAP?
Yeah, so I'm now with SAP since 22 years already, so quite a while. And I work in the Cloud and Lifecycle Management department. So this is the department which is dealing with installation, updating, conversion, so all the lifecycle management topics around SAP systems. So this is what we do. And of course, the name cloud also implies that we are also doing some cloud business. And so in there, I have the main topic S/4HANA conversion. Mm-hmm. And as of a couple of years already, so not as of late, is also the topic migration of the systems to a hyperscaler. And this is where we work together. Holger, you mentioned it, and also with Goran and Taka, where we had this famous project on how to bring systems to Microsoft Azure. And and this is where we come from. So Holger mentioned this technical white paper, which we released. And just for you as a reminder or a little recap, before that, we only had the database migration option with system move in the software update manager, which it's still available, so it's not gone. But this means you start the software update manager on the source system, you create an export of your system, so of the source DB to the file system. Then you have to copy everything over to the target system, and there you continue the procedure. So this was or is the DMOVE system move, which we always suggested. If you want to do a data center move, then please use this option. And a lot of things have changed, and this we talked about, I think it was in January last year, right? When we had this podcast.
Yes.
And then we said, okay, things have changed in the conversion procedure, especially with the shadow system not being on the target DB anymore. Instead, it's now created on the HANA target DB, not on the source DB. And so we came up with this procedure. And in the meanwhile, we had a couple of pilot customers because doing it in the lab is fine, right? And of course, we always try to get as close to reality in our lab as possible. But everyone knows it. It's still a lab. Everyone knows it. And so it's always better to have customers really trying it in their system landscape with their systems. And there we had the good news is all of them succeeded. So all of them went live. So we didn't find any major issues with the procedure as such. So we just found a little bit here and there, which we could improve a little bit. And this is what we did. And with the Software Update Manager 2.0 SP17, which was released in March this year, we had built in some of these findings, and there we said, okay, now we put it into general availability, so everyone can now use this procedure without doing a pilot project with us.
Cool.
Yeah, this is the background.
That was one of the big messages that we had. So if you are interested in doing DMO to Azure, then reach out to us, to SAP. There was even, I think, an SAP note that documented to really, if you are interested in, then work with SAP. And now it's cool. So since March, this is really GA. So customers can just use it without any direct SAP involvement.
Exactly. And so this is the procedure is now called DMOVE2S4 because, we at SAP, we love abbreviations. Usually we try to stick to 3-letter abbreviations. That didn't work out in this case. So it got a little bit longer. But somehow I think it was the idea of Boris Robert, kudos to him. If he watches the podcast, he came up with this name. So I think it's a nice idea to say it's a database migration option, and you do a move in the same step, and also you do the conversion to S4. So he managed to get all into this DMOVE to S4. Okay, so this is how it's called now. And then we have another thing also, which is, I don't know when that came out. That is this production-ready deployment of S/4HANA systems on Azure. So this is also quite interesting thing because you can provision S/4HANA systems also with a high availability setup with pacemaker, HANA system replication, whatsoever, according to, and that's also important, according to the reference architecture by SAP and Microsoft. So, which is a nice thing too. So you can install those systems for greenfield approach into Azure with just like that. And now I'm trying to close the loop.
But maybe before you quickly go there, because I think the work that we did with the CAL team, with the Cloud Appliance Library team there's really a really cool, amazing team behind the CAL. So there's a fantastic team working on that. They are absolutely motivated, and we had so good sessions with them. And I think this was really a fantastic teamwork with a lot of back and forth. And when they then released this production-ready deployment on Azure, that was really cool. I mean, I have always been a huge fan of the Cloud Appliance Library, just to quickly get a sandbox system up and running in Azure and stuff like that. But then now that you have the capability to really deploy a productive ready system that is really, as you said, following the best practices from SAP and Microsoft. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we said, why not put all those pieces together and try to make this DMOVE2S4, or this, we mentioned that also the last time, this GOTI procedure, which we called it the project name. Why not at least automate as much as possible of this procedure to make it as easy as possible for our customers? And well, this is where we are now, and this is the news, and this is why I'm here. And then I think we can already go to the video, or let me just see my notes if I also want to share something. Yeah, I think it would be then good to go to the demo to see how it works.
Maybe while you do this, if we look at the white paper, I think a lot of knowledge basically went into the white paper, and I think there were a few things where we really focused on. There were a lot of prerequisites steps that we said, look, you need to make sure that the latency between your on-premise system and Azure is fine, and we did a lot of measurements there and came to a lot of conclusions. That was one thing. I think the other thing was also in order to do this deployment with DMO to Azure, as you said, you install the SUM, the software update manager. I was just looking for the name in Azure, and that's also a manual installation process. So there are a lot of things that where, as you said, with CAL potentially we have bits and pieces in place, and now let's see what you have done.
Maybe before I show it, just briefly the benefits of DMOVE2S4, because you also, I think we should mention that it has also a couple of benefits compared to the DMO with System Move. For example, you only need one SUM instance running, so you don't have two systems where you then have to move the software update manager. That's one of the benefits. We don't do the export import via the file system, which is important because this saves time. We do it in parallel. So we use the standard database migration option feature of the software update manager. This is a benefit because by using the standard DMO feature of the software update manager, we can also use the downtime optimized features of the software update manager. So we can use downtime optimized DMO. We can also use the downtime optimized conversion. And this means that even customers with larger systems, where we all know it, business downtime is always precious, we can offer them a way to do the migration by using those options. And that's
but
really
these are the
thing.
few benefits which you offer in one shot, So, moving to Azure, it's one thing, big thing. Moving to S4, it's another thing, typically second stuff, And plus downtime optimization is the third thing. So basically, with this GOTI, what we were doing is actually you do it on the fly, everything in one shot, so to say, which is great.
In one single business downtime.
Yes. With at that time, you need to provision or pre-provision the target on the target system, something maybe manually, and now comes the beef.
Now comes the beef.
Okay. So these are the benefits of the procedure and why you may want to use it. And now let's take a look at the procedure. And now you may wonder, why the hell is this guy showing the maintenance planner? We were just talking about the Cloud Appliance Library. Well, bear with me, because the journey already starts here. At least if you want, you can start in the maintenance planner. So if you know the maintenance planner, this is where you start with your conversion. We have this tile plan for S4HANA. So you click on that, and here we already have the first new thing. And you can see here, of course, you can plan for an installation, greenfield of an S4HANA system, or here the brownfield conversion thing, right? There we have the manual conversion, which is the standard on-prem conversion as you know it. And here we have this new option in the maintenance planner saying conversion using SAP Cloud Appliance Library. So directly here in the maintenance planner, I can start with the procedure and say, I want to migrate to Azure, my system to Azure, my ERP system. So that's the first important thing. And now the rest of the planning process in the maintenance planner is exactly the same as for the standard on-premise conversion. So you select your systems, you select the S4HANA target release and the feature pack stack you want. You select the Fiori front-end server. Also, this is the same. You move on with the planning, define the change. You confirm that you want to go to the HANA database, of course. There is no other option for S4HANA. You select also the OSDB files and so on. And you come to the end. And here we also have now a difference for those who are familiar with the planning process. You will see that there is no push to download basket button anymore if you plan for the Cloud Appliance Library, because there is no need that you download the stack files, because we will do it for you.
Oh,
so this is the first difference, right? So you cannot download it because you don't have to.
You don't need to.
It just,
you don't need to.
It just doesn't make sense that you download the files. Okay, and instead we have this new option here saying continue with conversion. And if you now click on this button, we will bring you directly to your Cloud Appliance Library. Bam. And there you will see this screen, which says DMO to Azure or DMOVE2S4, right? I mentioned that already. So convert your SAP ERP on-premise system to SAP S4HANA in Microsoft Azure using those two available options. We already talked about DMO with system move. Also, this is possible. You can also choose this option, but you can see that the DMOVE to S4 is the recommended way because we think it's the better way and because of all the benefits we already discussed, okay? And now you say, okay, I want to use this DMOVE to S4. So you click this button, Run DMO to Azure. This is what we will do now. And here I stop for a moment. And here I select the target version, the S4HANA target release and the feature pack stack. And then I can pick the maintenance planner transaction, which I just created. So there's now the
connectivity between maintenance planner and
exactly. Yeah, because of course I could have more than one maintenance planner transaction for different systems. So here I have to say for which system I want to do the conversion and the migration to Azure. And then I move on. Then here I select the Azure subscription. Usually you already have that configured in your Cloud Appliance Library here in Accounts. But of course, you could also create a new account here if you want to, but I guess most of the time you already have that. Then you can pick the region where you would want to deploy the system to. And those networks here, like the transition network and the shared services network workload and so on, these are the things which are described in the guide for the production ready deployment. So because we will use that to set up
and which makes sense. I mean, this is so the foundational part basically on Azure in which you want to deploy your SAP systems in. So this is pre-configured basically, and now you just select the networks.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you already did the greenfield, so the production-ready greenfield deployment, then those screens should look familiar, right?
Yeah.
And so this is pretty much the same. So I select all the networks I want to use here, fill everything in, like shared network, workload, and the DNS configuration. I move on in the procedure. And of course, we need some passwords now. And here you can also see that we also need some directories like the SAP mount directory, the transport directory. Because what we do for this DMOVE2S4 is that we going to install an additional application server in Azure, which will extend the on-premise system into the Azure world, so to say. And of course, for that, to be able to install an additional application server, you also mentioned it, Holger, there are certain prerequisites to do that. And one of these prerequisites is that we have to transport, to mount those directories into the system on Azure so that we can install this additional application server. And therefore, we also need, like for the host agent, the password and the SID ADM password of the source system. Okay, then you get a little review of what will be done. And here it says start prechecks. And Holger, you mentioned it. There are a couple of things you have to keep in mind if you want to use the DMOVE2S4 procedure. That's like, am I able to access the shared directories from the source system, for example? Can I is the port to the SAP control of the source system open because the software update manager is going to stop the system during the procedure? So we also need access to NQ server, message server port, and so on. So there are a couple of requirements, and we also have defined these requirements in this technical white paper. So everything in this technical white paper is still valid. And so if you want to do this procedure here, it's still a good idea to look into this technical white paper to see what are the prerequisites and what do I need to do in my network setup to make it possible. So this is still valid. But what's now new is that we check if really everything is fine. And we also have the recommendation in our technical white paper that you should have at least a bandwidth of 400 megabit per second and a latency best case below 20 milliseconds. And we check all of that for you.
That's great.
So,
that's nice.
You see there's now it's saying here checking prerequisites. And it also says this may take a little while because we set up special system for that, which executes those tests. And now when the test has finished, you can see, like, for example, here. So, for example, can I access the profile of the source system? What about certain ports? We also check, like I said, the bandwidth. We check the latency. If everything does not work out here, don't worry, you can retry these checks. So you can say, okay, let me fix it and then run the checks again. So you can do it more than one time, so to say. And when everything is fine, so everything is green, like in that case here in this video, you can then just move on with the procedure. And you see that here above with the button continue with DMO. And here I also have now to select, like, okay, the region again. Then do you want a high availability setup or not? Like for development system, you usually don't want HA environment, but for your production system, for sure. And then you also select the operating system. And in this case, it's HANA system replication. You can define the SID of the HANA DB and all the other parameters for the deployment. Then we have here ABAP Central Services instance with NQ replication server, the up, and this is again like the standard greenfield procedure we have with this production-ready installation, because basically this is what we do. We install this target S/4HANA system for you. And so you can also do the sizing here, how many additional application server instances you want. You can also enter the subs you may require to run your workload.
So Matthias, just there, that's very interesting. So how you do the sizing or calculate the sizing or calculate the subs needed for the sizing of the target system? In this automatical.
Yeah, we do have sizing reports which help you. So of course you have to define the scenarios. Which function modules are you using in your ERP system? How many business users do you have, and so on. Usually the customers are familiar with that. And of course, they already have an SAP system running, so maybe they already know the subs they had for their on-premise system. But of course, you may have to do a new sizing or for the S/4HANA system. But there are reports available to do that, or tools. So then I move on, and also web dispatcher. Yeah, not yet. So this is now the web dispatcher and the technical communication user provided. And then we say review, we see a summary of all the details we have entered. And then again, we say continue with DMO. And what now happens, this is what I used to do when I was a consultant back then, installing systems for the customer. This now happens automatically. And the nice thing is, especially setting up those high availability systems, this is quite a lot of work usually. And here it may take like 4 to 5 hours, and then everything is installed, including the pacemaker, with everything. You get an email when it is done, and so you can go on with the procedure. So here it says deploying. You can also then click on it and you see what's currently happening. And you can also see here like download SAP installation files. So we also download the files which are needed to install the additional application server. And what we see here is now a part of the installation of the additional application server, because here is information required about the source system was using an SAP ASE database. And now it asks, okay, which version do you have? And obviously the software provisioning manager was not able to detect it. So you just say, okay, it's that one, and then you continue. But other than that, you see that you don't see anything from the software provisioning manager. So basically everything is happening in the background and is done for you. And now we're at the point where it says, okay, I install everything. And now comes a conversion step, conversion with the software update manager. This means, just to recap what happened, right? Okay, we installed your S/4HANA target system with HANA database, with HANA system replication. We did the installation of the additional application server for you. We downloaded the stack files from the maintenance planner. We downloaded the software update manager. We put everything on this additional application server. We extracted the software update manager. We configured the host agent to be able to start the software update manager. And this means basically you are now ready to start the software update manager.
Cool. Yeah.
And this is what we do when I say now, okay, convert with software update manager, this button here above. I click on it. And now I get the software update manager as you know it. So, and now at this point, this is really basically like running the conversion on your on-premise system.
But
Okay.
this is the software update manager that runs on Azure already.
Exactly. This software update manager is now running on the additional application server, which is running on Azure.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so you say standard conversion, and now this was, of course, we skipped all the software update manager related parts because they are, like I said, pretty much the same. There's only one thing which we maybe a good idea could add to this video. This is where you say that the software update manager should also move the ABAP Central Services instance to this system where the software update manager is running on. So, and by that, we are also moving the ABAP Central Services instance from on-premise to Azure, which means basically that at the end of this procedure, your system has been moved from on-premise to Microsoft Azure. And we did the conversion to S4HANA in the very same step. And there we are almost at the end of the video.
I already like it. You don't have to.
One thing you see here is that there is now a button saying confirm conversion. Why is that? Because when the software update manager says, okay, I'm done with my part of the conversion is not completely done. If you're familiar with the S4HANA conversion, you know that the finance and the material ledger migration has to be done in a separate step directly in the system. And of course, this is now you can log onto the system as you would expect. And you can then go on with these activities there. And if you have done everything which is mentioned in the conversion guide, what you have to do, right? Also after the software update manager has finished, then you can say, okay, I'm now completely done. And this means we then throw away this additional application server because it's not needed anymore. And then you just have this S4HANA target system already with high availability set up if you want it like that. And that's it. And this is, of course, a very nice thing, because if we compare this with the white paper we wrote, right, there you ended up just with one ABAP application server running on Azure. So if I then would like to have a high availability system, I would have to build it afterwards, which of course means additional effort. And so just to show you that this really saves you a lot of work, and I would say it's, can't make it any easier than that.
You can. I mean, that's end to end. It's really end to end. I mean, connect to source system on-premise, connect to Azure, and then you click. It will do all the pre-checks, deploy the SAP, do the migration. That's it. I mean, it's music to my ears. And basically, I mean, they are the consultants who are already familiar with the tools like CAL, like the SUM, will actually get already familiar screens. Right.
Exactly.
Meaning the life would be also easier for them, but you just basically wrap it in one UI in an end-to-end manner. I mean, that's great.
And so Holger, because you mentioned the nice colleagues from CAL, right? I worked closely together with them. I tested the whole procedure with high availability setup, with DMO, with system move or DMOVE to S4. And it really works nice. And this is also the reason why this is now also available for customers.
And this is really, really fantastic. And I think here, I mean, Ivanka, Stanimir, I think they did really an amazing job there. And it was great to see all of this coming together. And as you said, I think it's really a nice end-to-end story. So and we all know there are lots and lots of customers that are on their conversion story now that are in the process or starting to convert their ECC systems. to S4HANA to really go to the latest releases. And with this, they have a very easy end-to-end step process to do this. And I mean, yes, it was a video, but I think the main reason why it is a video is because there are some lengthy processes in between, which
exactly,
basically we cut out. But we saw how easy it is and how it's really a nice guided process that helps you to get to your S4HANA system on Azure. So it's really nice.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's quite nice. And this is also maybe something if a customer wants to try out the conversion to play around a little bit, right? And you don't want to buy your own HANA hardware yet or whatever. Then this is also a way where you could start and say, okay, now we just take a sandbox system and try it out to see how our system behaves. What do we have to do to get familiar with the whole conversion procedure without the need to investing in additional hardware?
No, I agree. And especially if you just, as you said, if you just want to get maybe a very first glance, how easy is it to migrate my system, or how does the result look like? And here you just run through the wizard, you do the deployment, and as you said, maybe then you test for a day, and then you say, okay, that's nice. Let's delete everything. Let's delete the resource groups again, and then start over or whatever. So this brings a lot of flexibility. Matthias, I think you also said you are in the process of publishing a blog post that talks about this.
Already written as we do the recording here. It's currently in the review process, so I guess it will be, I hope it will be online by next week. I will share the link with you, Holger, and then you can put it to the show notes. And also in this SEN blog, you will also find, of course, more links to additional material, like to the technical white paper we mentioned here already a dozen of times, but also to a blog post from Bettina Knaus about this production-ready deployment with Cloud Appliance Library, a blog post by Boris Robert about the DMOVE2S4 feature, which came with SP17 of the Software Update Manager, and also a link to the SAP Help portal where you can find more information about this CAL conversion procedure.
That would be then what, officially supported procedure, or how will be the status of this offering?
Sure.
Yes.
At least.
No.
I'm not aware of anything else. Yeah.
Constraints or limits.
Not that I'm aware of. I hope I'm not getting bashed by Ivanka or Stanimir now, but I'm not aware of any restrictions currently. So.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. Excellent.
Cool. Well, Matthias, thank you so much for this update. I really like also the timeline when we look back, how we started with Project Scotty, how we wrote the white paper, and now these results here. I think this is a beautiful sign of the collaboration that we have between SAP and Microsoft. So I think this is also a really nice story. Yeah, and who knows, Matthias, maybe in a year from now, let's see if we can invite you back, and maybe then you have some other really cool things that build on top of that.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Let's see. Okay. Cool. Well then, thank you so much, everyone, and see you again next week.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.